The world of classic hardcore WoW is a brutal one, and I've seen a lot of people go down really early in the game. So in this video, I'm going to bring you 10 things that you need to be doing if you want to make it into the mid-game and beyond in classic hardcore WoW. Number 1, and a personal favorite of mine, is to stay the heck out of caves whenever you can. According to Deathlog, the two areas where most people have died are both caves: the Fargo Deep Mine in Elwyn and the Wendigo Cave in Dunmorrow. Caves can be tempting for completing quests and due to the mob density inside, but since so many adventurers are kicking the bucket in caves, please at least follow a couple safety precautions before you go in one yourself. Be aware of when mobs are going to respawn behind you. If you're entering a cave with a bunch of corpses at the front, know that those could respawn at any time. It's better to fight your way in yourself so you have an idea of the time and the order in which the mobs will be respawning behind you. The biggest way you can get in trouble in a cave is biting off more than you can chew and then having no way of running because you're literally surrounded by mobs, which brings us to our next point. Always have an exit strategy. There are a couple pieces to this. First of all, for most specs early on, your only real exit strategy is running. So know which direction you're going to go and make sure it's clear. As different classes gain levels, you'll also get different ways of escaping, like Feign Death for Hunters or Blink for Mages. Make sure you learn the advantages and limitations of your escape abilities. I'd also recommend using your escape plan sooner rather than later. The instant you feel like you might be getting overwhelmed, cut and run. Those extra couple seconds of indecisiveness can be the difference between life and death, so take no chances. Get out of there. To go along with this point, just generally keeping the area you're fighting in completely clear is a good idea for a couple reasons. You don't want random mobs aggroing you out of nowhere, and in classic WoW, just grinding away at mobs is important to do anyway for XP. So don't just punch a hole into the mob density toward the stuff you need for a quest, completely clear the area of danger. Rules number 3 and 4 kind of go together as a yin and yang, but rule number 3 is don't be afraid to group. However, rule number 4 is the one chosen by my stream viewers, which is trust no one. So let me explain. You'll often find yourself in an area with other players competing over the same mobs for quests and experience. It's faster and safer for 2 or 3 of you to group up so that you're all getting credit for every kill rather than competing for mobs as they spawn. You'll also be exponentially more powerful and able to safely take on more mobs at a time in a group with others, especially if they have any utility or healing, and bonus points if they actually use it. So far, I've had good experiences just throwing invites at people that are killing the same mobs as me, and in just about every case, I've found it to be faster than trying to compete for mobs in highly contested areas by myself. But on the other hand, in hardcore mode, you'd be foolish to put too much trust in anybody. I'd always play with my own survival first and foremost in my mind, and also assume that other players are doing the same. Help your teammates, but if it comes down to it, live to fight another day and remember they'd probably be doing the same thing to you. Be aware that most people will likely cut out once they complete the quest they're working on or get whatever it is they need from the group. And finally, on the topic of group content such as dungeons, I personally am avoiding these on my hardcore run. Do this kind of content at your own risk. I've seen a number of full group wipes in places like Dead Mines, wipe out a load of players all at once. Just remember that anytime you group with another player, you are putting your life in their hands to some extent. Act accordingly. Next on the list is consumables and professions. Make sure you're fully equipped out there. I'd highly recommend doing first aid so you have bandages which can be used both in and outside of combat to keep you healthy. Cooking is a nice way to be sure that you're always stocked up on food without having to spend too much of your hard-earned money buying food from innkeepers. Healing potions can also be the difference between living and dying in a pinch. They can be crafted, found on mobs, or purchased from vendors. I'm going to link a list of potion vendors in the description for you to check out and help you stay stocked up. On the topic of professions, I really like engineering and mining for leveling. Engineering gives you some nifty items that you can use to save you in a pinch, such as target dummies, and also give you bombs that deal AoE damage and can incapacitate or stun mobs. Alright, number 6 is basically to punch below your weight class, meaning fight mobs and do quests that are generally a level or 2 below your character's level whenever possible. Once you start fighting mobs equal to or even a level or 2 above you, the difficulty picks up a lot, and therefore so does the chances you might die. I would avoid fighting anything above my level as much as possible, and whenever you can, fight things a little lower than you. If you feel like you've exhausted a zone's quests at your level and things are starting to get a little hard, consider visiting another race's zone for that level. For example, on my Dwarf Hunter, I found that I had cleaned up a lot of Loch Modan, and the remaining quests were getting a little difficult, so I headed over to Westfall. Then I had a ton of easy quests to blow through. Traveling from zone to zone isn't the most efficient in terms of time, but neither is being dead, so I still recommend moving around a bit to make sure you have a good supply of easier quests to work on. And this brings us to our next point, which I would apply to pretty much everyone who's not intentionally speedrunning the game. Slow and steady really wins the race in hardcore. Probably more than anything, hardcore will test your patience, and getting impatient with things often leads to biting off more than you can chew, which in turn leads to dying. This isn't the old, you can't do DPS when you're dead cliche. This is literally the game is over when you die. If you're worried about mobs respawning on you while you're fighting, just wait for them to respawn before you go in. If the zone is getting too hard for you, leave and find another one, or hang out in a safe, easy-ish area and grind out the rest of your level to give you an advantage again. For my next tip, I want to get into some add-ons. I run a pretty minimal set of add-ons in Classic Hardcore, but the add-ons I do run, I feel are really important. Questy is probably the most important of these. It will show you your quest hubs you can visit, locations of quest mobs you need to kill, where you need to go and turn in quests. If you get any add-on for Classic, this is the one I'd most recommend. Bestiary is another good one. It will show you the different abilities mobs have so you aren't caught off guard when an enemy CCs you, casts a self-heal, or does something else you might otherwise not expect. Bagnon is another nice add-on, which merges all your various bags into one and adds a search function to your inventory. Aside from gameplay add-ons, I really like the add-on called VoiceOver. It uses AI to generate voice lines for NPCs when they give quests or talk to you. Here, check one out.
I try to keep Sentinel Hill stocked, and that's not easy with all the action we see.
The voices are surprisingly good, although sometimes a little weird and awkward, and kind of add to the immersion of the game. I've been thoroughly enjoying running this add-on, and chat and I love to listen to the different voices that are generated for friendly NPCs. Additionally, the add-on Deathlog is a pretty cool one to run. Deathlog will alert you every time a player of your faction dies on your server. It can be a little intrusive at times, but you can customize the alerts. It also allows you to see things like what mobs are most deadly in a zone and each player's last words before they died. It's kind of a sobering reminder of just how often people are dying out there, and I feel like it's a good reminder for me to be careful. The next one probably isn't news to Classic WoW veterans, but if you're new or returning from a long break like myself, it's still really important to remember. Manage your class abilities, meaning visit your class trainer often to train new abilities, and be selective about what abilities you actually train if money is an issue for you, because it sure has been for me. And also, don't forget to actually replace the abilities on your action bars as you rank up, unless you have a reason that you want to be using the rank 1 ability. The higher rank abilities won't automatically replace the old ones on your bars. You need to manually do it yourself. Just to elaborate a little bit on a previous point, you will not need all your abilities while leveling, so don't feel obligated to train everything, as training abilities can be pretty expensive. For example, on my Hunter, I haven't touched things like Eyes of the Beast because they have no bearing on leveling. You can save yourself a lot of money this way, and if you ever reach high level, you can go back and train the things you skipped later. My last tip is more to do with your mindset, but I'd recommend enjoying the hardcore experience and not really expecting to get to level 60. I think the average percentage of people that actually make it to 60, the prediction anyway, is about 1 to 2%, so the deck is completely stacked against you. Personally, I try to survive to the end of each play session. I know my character is likely going to die at some point, and I'll be disappointed when that happens, but I also don't really expect that I'm going to make it to level 60 with no mistakes. If I do, awesome, but I know what a difficult feat that is, so just enjoy the journey. I hope you guys find these tips helpful, and if you want to check in on my journey to level 60 in Classic Hardcore WoW, check out my stream right here on YouTube, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday nights, 9 p.m. Pacific. We got a great community of players in there, and we have a lot of fun. Hope to see you in there sometime, and good luck on your quest to level 60 in Hardcore WoW.